Ready? Go!
The big reveal for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate was centered around the whole "everyone is here" theme. Every single character got their own little introduction and a spot on the beautiful banner. But that's just it. Everyone is here, not everything. Although Smash Ultimate lives up to its name with more stages, music, items, and characters than any other Smash game before, it seems that certain things from previous titles were deemed not worthy enough to be part of the Smash Ultimate experience. There's actually a ton of content that got left out, and a lot of it isn't that big of a loss, to be honest, but some of it is actually pretty significant. So here are the top 5 features that I miss in Smash Ultimate. I'm going to be coming back to this Games and More section later on in the video because I have a lot to say about it, but for now let's just talk about Mob Smash. Previously known as Multi-Man Melee, Brawl, and Smash, this section of the game usually features different modes: 10-man, 100-man, 3-minute, Endless, Cruel, and Rival, which was introduced in Smash 4. Although these modes aren't exactly significant and are really just a stepping stone on the way to 100% completion, in Melee and Brawl there were characters, stages, and trophies that you could unlock for completing certain multi-man challenges, and Brawl introduced the ability to play these modes with a friend to make the 100% grind a little less boring. So, to be honest, I may not actually miss game modes like 10-man or 3-minute Smash, but what I do miss is the amount of time and effort that used to go into these obscure corners of the game. Without any trophies or characters to unlock, there's literally no reason to ever play these modes unless you care about completing the challenges and getting 100%, which doesn't really matter all that much in a fighting game. But the reason why I brought up the Games and More section to begin with is because All-Star Smash has been demoted to this dusty, forgotten corner of the game. Why, you ask? Because it's no longer the All-Star mode that we've had since Melee, and that's what I really miss. All-Star mode was the true test of skill for players that really just enjoyed Smash at a casual level and didn't know or didn't care about the competitive scene. You had to beat every single character in the game, back to back, keeping all of the damage that you incurred over the previous matches, unless you chose to use one of your very limited healing items in between fights. As the Smash series grew and more characters were added to the game, All-Star mode got longer and longer with more healing items along the way, until we reached the breaking point, Smash Ultimate. 70 characters with 5 more on the way. The developers decided a 70 character gauntlet with limited healing would be way too long and challenging, so instead they gave us this. It's a glorified version of Endless Smash, which they didn't even include. You fight the entire roster instead of the Mii fighters that you would fight in Endless Smash, but the knockback is still increased so they go flying after a couple of hits. Yeah, it's annoying because all of the characters overwhelm you with weak moves until you're at a really high percent and then you get caught by a rogue smash attack, but it's not hard or challenging. It's just an annoying stepping stone on the way to the 100% challenge completion. To be honest, I would have really preferred the All-Star mode that we had in previous games. Every single character back to back with limited healing items. Smash 4 dumbed it down a little bit by having matches with multiple characters and using damage multipliers like we have now in Smash Ultimate, but it was still way more challenging of a game mode than what we have now. I don't really see the huge roster as a valid reason to completely change All-Star mode when they could have just added a couple more healing items and kept it as a really challenging gauntlet. And that's why All-Star mode gets the number 5 spot on this list. Speaking of challenging gauntlets, whatever happened to boss battles? Remember that super cool story mode that we got in Brawl, never to be seen again? Throughout the Subspace Emissary, there were epic story-moving boss fights with characters like Rayquaza, Porky, Ridley, Petey Piranha, and more. Once you had your fill with the superior Chad All-Star mode, you could test your skills going through all of the boss fights in the game. You get 1 stock, no continues, and 3 heart containers for a total of 10 boss fights. If that wasn't challenging enough, bosses 7, 8, and 9 move and attack faster than normal and have more health. It might not be for everyone, but I have a lot of fun learning the attacks of all the bosses in Smash, what their startup looks like, how to avoid them, etc. I know the big focus of the Smash Bros. Series is the multiplayer experience, but throughout the years the games have also featured some pretty amazing single-player modes, and it really is a shame that they've pretty much been left to live in the shadow of the pseudo-adventure mode World of Light. I already said a lot about number 5, and I'm gonna say a lot more about number 3, so I'll just leave it at that and say the Boss Battles game mode is the number 4 thing that I miss in Smash Ultimate. Can we just take a second to acknowledge how sad this Games and More section is in general? We've got Training Mode, Mii Fighters, and Amiibo, which are pretty much mandatory, and then we've got Classic Mode. Smash Ultimate's Classic Mode is a nice little callback to Smash 64's Classic Mode with a unique twist for every single character, but it was kind of expected to have some sort of classic streamlined single-player mode aside from a big grand adventure mode. So when you take away all that stuff that's sort of mandatory like Training Mode, or expected like Classic Mode, all we're really left with is Mob Smash, and I already mentioned how disappointing that is. Which leads me to the number 3 thing that I missed that didn't make it into Smash Ultimate: extra game modes like Home Run Contest, Break the Targets, and Event Mode. Break the Targets has been a staple of the Smash series ever since the very first game, and Home Run Contest also became a fan favorite game mode for both record breakers and casual players. I remember back when I was a kid, before I had any idea about competitive Smash, I would play Break the Targets and board the platforms in Smash 64 for hours. Now, if I'm being completely honest, I was never great at these modes and couldn't do any of the crazy world record stuff, but watching the YouTube videos of other people pulling that stuff off was amazing. Home Run Contest was another game mode that I was never really good at but found extremely entertaining to watch, and Brawl and Smash 4 actually added a plethora of things to the Home Run Contest that really changed up the meta, and even a co-op mode with an entirely different metagame altogether. All of these game modes were huge parts of the single-player Smash Bros. Experience, and you could tell the development team really cared about improving them and trying new things, even if some of them turned out to be hot garbage. But the game mode that I missed the most is event matches. In Melee, back when I was still a super casual player, once I got to the point where level 9 CPUs and classic mode were a joke to me, if I wasn't trying to grind out All-Star mode, which was extra hard since you couldn't use the C-stick in Melee's single player modes, I would go back into the event mode for hours and hours and try to beat my fastest times. In Smash 4, I think I might have even had a world record at one point for the Wii Fit Trainer event. Brawl added the ability to play co-op with a friend, which slightly changed the conditions of each event, and Smash 4 gave the mode a map-like appearance with different routes that were blocked off until you completed a certain event or unlocked a certain character. Very similar to this is Smash Ultimate's World of Light, which in my opinion tries to be a replacement for Event Mode, Adventure Mode, and custom moves all in one. But Event Mode had a design space where you could have fun and creative challenges that didn't necessarily revolve around killing a terrible AI opponent. Take the Duck Hunt event in Wii U for example. The goal is to knock down 10 ducks that appear in the background while an enemy Falco tries to give you a hard time. Killing the Falco does nothing, and if you miss a single duck that spawns in the background, you fail the challenge. Or the Yoshi's Egg event in Melee, where everyone has infinite stocks and the goal is to protect the egg from breaking for just under a minute. While there are a few battles like this in World of Light, it's extremely saturated by battles with AI opponents that have some kind of advantage based on the match conditions. Last but definitely not least, World of Light doesn't have any replayability unlike the event modes of previous games where you could just try to beat your fastest times or go for a world record. Once you beat a spirit, they're gone forever. I won't spoil the ending of World of Light and tell you what happens afterwards, but let's just say you get one rematch with every spirit and that's it. No more rematches, and the only way to do that specific spirit battle again is if you find it on the spirit board. Obviously, this doesn't really matter for a majority of the super easy or annoying battles, but some of them are pretty fun, and who knows, some players might actually want to replay them more than once. Event mode allowed you to replay any challenge as many times as you wanted, track your fastest times, and had a clear list of every single challenge in the game. And that's why it takes the number 3 spot alongside Break the Targets, Board the Platforms, and Home Run Contest on the list of things I miss in Smash Ultimate. I'm sure you can tell by now, but I could talk forever about the other game modes that Smash has to offer. However, at the number 2 spot on my list of things I miss the most in Smash Ultimate, we have stages. There were quite a few stages throughout Smash history that weren't deemed worthy enough to be included in Ultimate, but my favorites out of the bunch are Melee's Mute City and Poke Floats, Rainbow Road from Smash 3DS, and Jungle Hijinks and Miiverse from Smash Wii U. Miiverse obviously wasn't included because the online service died, and to be fair, it was just Battlefield, but goddamn some of the Miiverse posts you'd see in the background were hilarious. I feel like Melee's Mute City was left out because Port Town Aerodive is pretty much just an updated version, but honestly, I just prefer Mute City. It's a classic F-Zero location and there aren't any dumb areas with holes in the floor. Poke Floats is a stage that's just kind of a personal preference and I miss it. It's not a good stage by any means, and the developers probably just threw it together without much thought, which is why it never returned, but it's one of those classic stage picks if you're just trying to have a crazy fun time with your friends. Rainbow Road is also just one of those personal preference stages because I love the aesthetics and all of the colors. The Smash 4 Mario Circuit stage is pretty much the same concept, but the background is the exact same style as the other Mario Kart stage, Figure 8 Circuit, with all of the grass and the clouds and the trees and whatnot. So I just think it would have been cool if one of them was Rainbow Road instead. And lastly on my list of stages that I miss, Smash Wii U's Jungle Hijinks. If it doesn't look familiar, don't worry. I'm sure one of the very few people who actually played on this stage, let alone enjoyed it. This stage added a new gameplay feature that we've never seen before in the Smash series, the ability to travel between the foreground and background of the stage. While it was pretty annoying to control your character in the background and the knockback was increased back there, I thought this 2-stage-in-1 foreground-background idea was extremely creative and cool. Stages like this are super innovative, and I was really surprised to see this one among many others not make the cut, which is why stages take the number 2 spot for things I missed the most in Smash Ultimate. Before we get into the number 1 thing that I miss, I wanted to quickly shine the spotlight on some honorable mentions. These are things that I enjoyed and do miss, but they're not really significant enough to talk about in depth or add to my personal top 5 list. Items like the fan, which has been a staple since Smash 64, didn't make it into Ultimate, but to be completely fair, it didn't make it into Smash 4 either. The Cracker Launcher is another item I missed that had its 15 minutes of fame in Brawl and was never seen again. Personally, the Stage Builder mode was never really my thing, but a lot of people actually loved creating and playing on custom stages, and some people even use custom stages to practice things like wall techs. So I think the Stage Builder also deserves a spot on the HM list. And the last thing I wanted to mention were the Coin Launcher and Trophy Rush modes. These game modes were obviously scrapped with the removal of collectible trophies, which I suppose can also be grouped in with these two game modes as an honorable mention. I'm a completionist gamer, so I love collecting things and getting 100%. Yes, even in a fighting game where it's pretty much pointless. While I do prefer the arcade-style Coin Launcher over the Trophy Rush mode, I also had a lot of fun with Trophy Rush figuring out the optimal strategies to get the most possible custom moves. Which leads me to the number 1 thing that I miss in Smash Ultimate, custom moves. Being able to customize a character was something I never thought would happen in the Smash series. Honestly, despite the love Nintendo has for their Miis, I never thought that custom characters ever had a shot at joining the Smash roster. So obviously when custom moves were revealed during one of the Nintendo Directs, my mind was absolutely blown. As it turned out, custom moves only applied to the 4 special moves with 2 variations each, so it wasn't a complete customization, but it still allowed for some variety and crazy combos. The downside to custom moves was that it also allowed for some extremely broken and overpowered stuff, and the logistics surrounding custom moves for so many characters made it a nightmare for tournament organizers. So in general, custom moves are basically treated like items or stages with hazards and completely banned from competitive play. This might actually be one of the factors which led the development team to scrap custom moves in Smash Ultimate, only giving them to the Mii fighters. But I feel like custom moves were an amazing idea that should have been improved on instead of deleted. It would have been extremely time consuming and a ton of work, but it would have been awesome to get a whole array of new custom moves, maybe extending to other things like smash attacks and aerials, and even custom moves for the Smash 4 DLC roster, which never ended up getting custom moves for some reason. But in the end, I had a lot of fun with customs. I love doing the Custom Corner video series, and I would love to bring it back, but I mean, I only have 3 characters to work with, so rip. And that's my top 5 list of features that I miss in Smash Ultimate. Now don't get me wrong, Smash Ultimate is a huge game already and I love it and I'm extremely thankful and grateful for all the time and effort that went into it. But despite how big the game is, there is a ton of content that got left out, and I'm sure there are a few things that you miss as well. So leave a comment down below with your own top 5 or just your favorite thing from Smash history that didn't make it into the Ultimate cut. And hey, if your favorite game mode was the Angry Birds Garbage Fire, you have every right to miss it. So leave a comment, subscribe if you haven't yet already, and click the bell so you get notified every time I upload. Check out the 2 videos on screen if you're still looking for some Smash content. I've got a good feeling you'll enjoy them. As always, thanks for watching all the way until the end, and happy smashing.